We'll begin with the top story. Like Kobe mentioned, General Motors formally registered with the FIA to become a future Formula One engine supplier beginning in 2028 with the Cadillac brand. Cadillac still plans to enter the pinnacle of motorsport with Andretti Global, despite fierce opposition from the F1 paddock. Last month, the FIA approved Andretti's expression of interest application for the Andretti Cadillac effort to get their blessing to compete in Formula One. Next, they'll have to get approval from F1 themselves, which continues to be an uphill battle. Mark Royce, president of General Motors, said he's confident that GM's deep engineering and racing expertise will help produce a successful power unit, positioning Andretti Cadillac as a true works team. Graphic on your screen courtesy of General Motors. Kobe, is it a good sign for Andretti seeing GM show an even greater level of commitment to this project?
Yeah, I think it's a good sign for Andretti. I'm actually going to say two different things. It's not necessarily a good sign for Andretti's chances of being accepted in the Formula One, but it's good for Andretti that their partner is still dancing with them 100% right now. And of course, we've seen things change. I think it's very important that we have General Motors saying in an official press release that Andretti Cadillac, instead of just saying, at Cadillac, we're going to enter Formula One. I know in just a little bit, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the latest oppositions and reasons why F1 teams don't really want to see Andretti on the grid in the future. But I think Mark Royce, everyone at General Motors, to put in the press release and to make it public, especially on Las Vegas Grand Prix weekend, the third and final race in the United States this year, for them to say that they're planning to enter Formula One with their own power unit in 2028, rather than just partnering with the current power unit supplier and then just brand it as a Cadillac. Cadillac's investing. They're going to go all the way to meet every single thing that Formula One wants Andretti Global and Cadillac to meet. So I really think that this is a really good sign for Andretti that Cadillac is 100% all in, and they're not going to hang them out to dry anytime soon.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great way to start off probably the most anticipated race week in the Formula One calendar, maybe ever, before the Las Vegas Grand Prix on Saturday night for you guys and Sunday morning for us in Europe. Great news. This is yet another one. We've obviously been following this story all year, and every time Michael Andretti and his whole group there have had a box to tick, they've ticked the box, and this is another one checked off for them. Of course, there have been talk earlier in the year about them having a sort of tie up with Renault as an engine supplier in the meantime. And as you mentioned, this if it all goes through, won't happen until 2028. So they'll come in, they'll use the Renaults for a couple of years, and then move over to Cadillac, an American team with an American engine, 3 races on the calendar. You just can't see this being a no, although I'm sure we'll hear all about it later on tonight, tomorrow in the pressers with the drivers and especially the team bosses. They'll still be adamantly against this, but I just think now surely that is all systems go for this, and just that final hurdle of getting the entry completely signed off has got to come sooner rather than later.
Well, I've told you, Matt, I felt like from the start that Michael Andretti could go out and add Tom Brady and LeBron James and Lionel Messi and President Obama to this project, and they'd still get this opposition and these no votes from the rest of the Formula One paddock. So it seems like every time the goalposts continue to move, and we'll talk about that a little bit more right now. Of course, ever since Michael Andretti announced his intentions to enter F1 with this Andretti Global project, we've covered the long road of obstacles he's had to face just to get this far, from doubts that his operation can even sustain the F1 environment to requiring them to bring a new engine supplier. Nothing seems to satisfy these F1 teams. They continue to move the goalposts, and another one has emerged recently. Reports in the media say F1 teams are open to Cadillac joining F1, but with an existing team as long as it's not Andretti. So, Matt, have you ever seen the F1 paddock fight so hard against something like this? And do you think we're about to see a turning point in this battle for Andretti to become the 11th team?
I hadn't actually heard that part of the story, and I haven't properly looked at the script, so that's news to me. You can come in, just not you. You can stay over there in IndyCar and everywhere else that Andretti, continue to be involved. I just don't understand. I really don't understand. more money into the pot means more money coming out of the pot to the teams. They just need to get their heads around this at some stage. We've heard all through the summer from James Vowles at Williams, AlphaTauri have been vocal against it. Obviously, so have Haas multiple times from Gunther Steiner. So please just let them in, let them come. If it does turn into a failure, which it's not going to, and again with this news, surely it can't fail at some point. This isn't going to be like the first season of BAR back in the 90s, where they said they were going to come in and win the championship in their first season and fail to finish every race. It's a full, proper team. And to be honest, I'm quite bored of this story now, and it just needs to be signed off and let them in. And as I said a couple of weeks ago, if you don't like it, go and take your ball and play somewhere else.
And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe I remember reading a story just towards the end of last week from Michael Andretti saying like that the Formula One paddock thinks we're a bunch of hillbillies. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that yet, but I just think this is really, really crazy if that's the case. But I guess Michael Andretti's trying to figure out reasons why they don't want us there. And I remember reading an article, I think it was on motorsport.com, talk when he was saying that they think we're just a bunch of hillbillies who really don't know what we're doing, what we're talking about. And I don't really think you can use that excuse because, they're Andretti Global for a reason. That's why they rebranded. And we don't need to go into all of the different racing programs that they have around the world because we've covered that multiple times on this show. As Matt said, he's getting tired of covering this story because there's always something to talk about with this. And we've already listed all the different programs that Andretti Global has in Formula E, IndyCar, Supercars with the Walkinshaw Andretti, IMSA. There's just so many different things that Andretti is a part of. And so far, we haven't seen Andretti be a complete another failure. They know how to handle this. I think they'll be able to handle F1 as well. So this is really crazy seeing how hard the paddock is fighting against the idea of Andretti being there. And I think it's gotten to the point where it's just absolutely ridiculous when we're saying that Cadillac is welcome, but Andretti is not. It's like what are you doing? What's the real reason why you won't let Andretti come to Formula One? And I've always thought that is maybe they're fearful, maybe they feel intimidated by Andretti because they fear that Andretti can come in and eventually, be right there with the Red Bulls, the Mercedes, the Ferraris, and McLarens of the world at some point. Obviously, that won't happen overnight, but it really seems like that these F1 teams who have been the cream of the crop for the longest time are scared of Andretti, fearful that they're going to be a successful American F1 team, and they may end up making some of these teams who have been here for a long time end up looking really silly at the end of the day.
Well, Kobe, I just went back and verified because I thought I had seen something about this last week. But I, from what I'm understanding, Cadillac has put their foot down and said, we will not come if we can't come with Andretti as a package deal here. So it seems like they're committed to working with Andretti throughout all this. But my biggest, and I've said this from the start, probably on this show as well, my biggest disappointment is that Gunther Steiner is so adamantly part of this opposition here, because you only have to turn the clock back to, 2014, 2015, when Haas were trying to come into Formula One. I think a lot of people forget Manor was still on the grid. This was an American outfit trying to become the 11th team, and Gunther Steiner was a huge part of that. And now we have an American outfit trying to come in as the 11th team, and you're saying, oh, they're going to dilute the prize fund. We're not sure if they're going to be competitive or if they're serious, and we think the sport's in a good place with 10 teams. You were the 11th team. You were the 11th American team. And now you're saying 7 years later that Michael Andretti and his team is not. And by the way, if the name Andretti can't get into the Formula One grid as the 11th team, how can anyone else? This is your 1978 champion Mario Andretti and his son, who, like you mentioned, Kobe, has successful race teams in so many different series all across America, all across the world. Of course he's serious about this. Of course he's not just here to mess around and have an F1 team for the sake of saying, oh, yeah, we have an F1 team as well. He's here to maybe not win immediately, like you mentioned, Kobe. It's not going to be an overnight process where you're competing with the Mercedes and the Red Bulls of the world and the Ferraris of the world. But, that's the long-term goal. That's certainly going to be the long-term ambitions of this project, to get to that point, to be competitive. And if not be winning races or competing for podiums, certainly at least being able to equal what Haas did when they came in and had a strong sixth-place run on debut with Roman Grosjean and several strong points finishes throughout the rest of their year, and eventually peaking at fifth in the constructors in 2018. I know they've fallen back in recent years, but they jumped right into the midfield when they first got here. I have no doubt that if the cards fall Andretti's way, that the effort that they're putting into this organization, they would be able to do the exact same thing here. So maybe there's a point to what you said, Kobe. Maybe they're just intimidated that eventually this could be more competition for the top teams even, and they don't want to see that. And we have a comment here from our own Joe Samniego saying, with the rumors of Audi maybe looking for an out, this gives Andretti and GM more credibility. On paper, looks better than Haas, which just buy parts from everyone else. And that's another good point as well. Everybody was talking about how Haas is just the Ferrari B team or the Ferrari B spec car because they were, and maybe that was helping them jump straight into the midfield when they first came in, just kind of copying the Ferrari model there. And Adam brings up a good point as well. Michael Andretti has F1 experience himself, running a half season with McLaren in 1993, and until just a couple of weeks ago, was the last American to score points in Formula One.
The biggest hypocrisy of all of this for me is the F1 teams come together and they sign the calendar off. And how many American races have we had added in the last however many years? 2. Stop adding American races. Stop bringing it to the people if you don't want those people to then come in. Otherwise, we may as well have 10 races in Saudi Arabia, because that's where the money is, let's be honest, in the world at the moment, and in sport with boxing and everything else that's going on out there. And obviously they're going to get the World Cup, Soccer World Cup coming up in 6 or 7 years time, whenever it is. Stop. I know this is Netflix as well. You know, everyone's piled on in the last couple of years to Formula One. And to your point, Ben, before, when Haas came in, Formula One teams were not profitable. Now they are, and they want their money, and they don't want to let it go away. And it's just drives me insane. Absolutely insane. Stop adding American if you don't want them to be part of the fun.
Well, what we said from the start? They're interested in American dollars, not American drivers, or apparently American teams as well.
Teams.
Or trip to Las Vegas, because have you seen the prices? They are absolutely ridiculous. Like those prices, I just don't. You're basically gonna have to sell a kidney and a lung to go to Las Vegas because it's not affordable for the average American Formula One fan. Yeah, you basically have to save up a whole bunch of money and make this like a once in a lifetime type of trip if you want to go to the Las Vegas Grand Prix. I guess it's just gonna be a made for TV event.